Commander stood at the edge of the destroyed settlement and felt nothing. The transport ship had landed 10 minutes ago, but he could not make his legs move forward. Smoke rose from broken buildings. The smell of burnt metal and death filled the air. Somewhere in that mess of rubble and fire, his mate was dead. The other soldiers moved around him. They searched through debris. They checked bodies. They followed protocols that meant nothing anymore. Watched them with eyes that saw everything and felt nothing. His second-in-command, a young warrior named, approached carefully. "Commander," said, his voice was soft. Among their kind, speaking softly to a pack leader who had lost a mate was wise. "We have found the command center. The cultural liaison station is beyond it." A's mate had worked as a cultural liaison. She helped humans and understand each other. She smiled when she talked about her work. She said building bridges between species mattered more than building weapons. I had teased her about it. Now he would never tease her again. He forced his legs to move. Each step across the broken ground felt wrong. His body still worked, but everything inside felt hollow. There were pack creatures. They bonded with their mates on a level humans did not fully understand. When a mate died, part of the survivor died too. I could feel that death spreading through him like cold water. The settlement had been called Outpost 7. It sat on Prime, a border world where humans and worked together. 300 people had lived here. Now I could see maybe 50 bodies. The rest had evacuated or been taken. They had hit fast and hard. They always did. Led him through the ruins. Buildings that had housed families were now just walls and ash. A playground sat empty, the swings still moving slightly in the wind. I looked away. He could not think about the children, not yet. The cultural liaison station was a small building near the center of the settlement, or it had been. Now it was half collapsed. I saw the medical symbol on what remained of the door. His chest tightened. His breathing became difficult. Commander said, "Perhaps I should." "No," I said, his voice came out rough. "Show me." They had laid the bodies in rows. Someone had covered them with thermal blankets. I walked slowly past each one. He knew what he would find, but knowing did not make it easier. At the end of the third row, he saw her hand first. Had worn a bracelet he gave her on their bonding day. Silver metal with blue stones. He had put it on her wrist himself. Pulled back the blanket. Eyes were closed. Her face was peaceful. She might have been sleeping except for the blast wound across her chest. She had died quickly. That was something, not much, but something. I knelt beside her. He did not touch her. He could not. If he touched her, if he felt how cold she was, it would become real in a way he could not survive. The hollow feeling in his chest grew larger. His vision blurred. "She died protecting the evacuation center," a voice said. I looked up. A wounded soldier stood nearby. His arm was bandaged. Burns covered his face. "The broke through the north wall. She held them at the corridor for 8 minutes, gave everyone time to get to the shelters." 8 minutes, had bought 8 minutes with her life. I wanted to howl. He wanted to tear something apart. He wanted to go back in time and be here when she needed him. Instead, he just knelt there beside her body and felt the cold spread further through his chest. "Commander said quietly, we should move her to the ship, give her proper rights." I nodded. He could not speak. He stood slowly. His legs shook. Around him, his soldiers worked with careful respect. They all knew what losing a mate meant. Some survived it, many did not. The ones who lived were never whole again. He was turning toward the transport when the wounded soldier spoke again. "Commander, there is something else." I stopped. He did not want something else. He wanted to take home. He wanted to lock himself away and let the cold finish spreading through him. But he was still a commander. He still had duties. "What?" he asked. "The nursery shelter," the soldier said. "The building where we kept the cubs during adult work hours. It took a direct hit. Fire spread before we could respond. We lost contact with everyone inside." He paused. "There were 6 cubs in there. We think they are all dead." 6 cubs, children of families stationed here. I thought of again. She had loved the cubs. She visited the nursery every day, teaching them songs and games. Now they were dead too. Everything was dead. "We could not reach them," the soldier continued. "The fire was too hot. The structure kept collapsing. We tried, Commander. We tried for hours, but—" "I understand," I said. His voice sounded dead even to himself. "Prepare to abandon the settlement. There is nothing more we can do here." He started walking back toward the transport. Behind him, soldiers began gathering equipment and securing the area for final departure. I looked at the smoke-filled sky. Somewhere up there, the ships had jumped back to hyperspace. They had destroyed this place and left. Simple, clean, efficient. His second-in-command fell into step beside him. "The crew is ready to depart when you give the order, Commander." Nodded, he took one last look at the settlement. His eyes moved over the broken buildings, the scorched earth, the bodies being loaded onto transports. Then his gaze caught on something. Movement. Impossible movement from the direction of the nursery shelter. He stopped walking. The building still burned. Flames rose from holes in the roof. Smoke poured from broken windows. But through the haze, through the heat shimmer and ash, I saw a figure. A human figure. Male, based on the build, and the human was not alone. Said softly, "Do you see that?" His second-in-command looked where he pointed. The young warrior's ears went flat against his head in shock. "By the ancestors," he whispered, "how is anyone alive in there?" The human was crouched in what looked like a partially collapsed doorway. His body was curved over something. No, over multiple somethings, small shapes that moved. A's enhanced vision focused through the smoke. He saw a small paw, then a tail, then a face. Cubs, the human was sheltering cubs. As A watched, the human looked up. Their eyes met across the distance and fire. The human's face was covered in soot and sweat. Burns marked his arms, but his expression was clear and focused. He was not panicking. He was not crying for help. Instead, the human lifted one hand and pointed to his left. Then he made a series of gestures. Recognized the military signals for safe path and structural stability. This human knew their protocols, and he was telling how to reach them. Then the human cupped his hands around his mouth and shouted. His voice barely carried over the crackle of flames. "3 cubs alive, need heat blankets, northwest approach is stable." I felt something shift in his chest. The cold, hollow feeling was still there, spreading and killing him from the inside. But now there was something else too, something small but fierce. This human, this stranger, was inside a burning building. He should have run. He should have saved himself. Instead, he was protecting cubs. Instead, he was thinking about heat blankets and safe approach paths. Instead, he was doing exactly what would have done. Said, his voice came out stronger than before. "Get me every able-bodied soldier. Get thermal gear. Get medical supplies. Get everything we need for a rescue operation in a burning building." "Yes, Commander," ran toward the other soldiers, already shouting orders. I looked back at the human in the flames. The human had returned his attention to the cubs, his body still curved protectively over them. He was singing something. I could not hear the words, but he recognized the melody. It was a lullaby, one that used to sing. The cold in A's chest was still there, was still dead. That would never change. But those cubs in that fire were alive. And if this human could hold on long enough, if this stranger could keep protecting them through flames and falling debris, then maybe I could find the strength to bring them all out. He had failed to save his mate. He would not fail to save this human and these cubs. "Hold on," I whispered toward the burning building. "Just hold on a little longer." Then he turned and ran toward his soldiers, already planning the rescue that might kill them all. The heat hit like a physical wall. Even through the thermal suit, he could feel the fire trying to cook him alive. Smoke filled his lungs despite the breathing mask. Behind him, 3 of his best soldiers followed in single file. They carried medical supplies and heat-resistant blankets meant for cubs. The human had been right about the northwest approach. The structure was more stable here. I could see support beams that had held despite the blast damage. He could also see where the fire had spread and where it had not. This human understood buildings. He understood safety. That knowledge had kept him and the cubs alive for hours. "Commander," one of the soldiers said through the comm, "temperature is reaching critical levels. Our suits will not protect us much longer." "Then we move faster," I said. He pushed forward through a collapsed doorway. Metal groaned above them. Ash fell like snow. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back, to retreat, to survive. But he thought of those cubs. He kept moving. The lullaby reached his ears first. The human was still singing. His voice cracked and broke from smoke damage, but he kept going. The melody was wrong in places. The words were mangled by a human throat not built for sounds, but I recognized the song. "Little ones safe in the den," had sung it every night at the nursery. I rounded a corner and found them. The human sat with his back against a partially collapsed wall. 3 small cubs were pressed against his chest and stomach, his arms wrapped around them in a protective circle. An energy shield generator lay nearby, sparking and failing. Every time it failed, the human shifted position to put his body between the cubs and any falling debris. The human's condition was bad. Burns covered both arms. His shirt was mostly burned away, showing more burns across his back and shoulders. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead. His breathing sounded wet and painful, but his eyes were alert. When he saw he did not cry out in relief. Instead, he spoke clearly and calmly. "Commander, the human said. Authorization code 77 Delta. I am Danny, civilian engineer. I have 3 cubs in my care, age 7, age 5. Missa age 4. All are physically unharmed but traumatized. They need immediate medical attention for smoke inhalation." I stared at him. This human was dying. Anyone could see it. The burns alone would kill him without treatment. The smoke damage to his lungs was severe, but he was reciting protocols. He was giving proper handoff procedures for children in his care. "I confirm authorization," I said. He knelt beside them. "I am commander of the defense fleet. I am here to take you and the cubs to safety." Danny did not immediately release the cubs. Instead, he looked directly into A's eyes. "Proof of identity," he said. "Security Procedure 7 requires." "My mate was," I said quietly. "She taught you that song, she taught you the protocols, and she would be proud that you followed them even now." Something in Danny's expression cracked. His eyes became wet. "She was kind to me," he said. "She taught me customs. She said if I ever needed to calm scared cubs, I should sing to them." He looked down at the 3 small bodies pressed against him. I did not know what else to do. "You did everything right," I said. He reached out slowly. "Now let me help you." Danny finally nodded. He carefully unwrapped his arms from around the cubs. The moment he moved, all 3 cubs cried out. Little grabbed his arm with both paws, buried his face against Danny's chest. Missa started crying. "It is okay," Danny said softly. He stroked his head with a burned hand. "These are good people. They will keep you safe. Your parents are waiting for you." He looked at her. "Their parents are waiting, right?" I felt his chest tighten. "An's parents evacuated successfully. They are on the medical ship. Mrs. Parents died in the initial attack." Danny's face went pale. He looked down at little Missa and pulled her close one more time. "Then I am not leaving her," he said. His voice was firm despite the pain he was clearly in. "Someone needs to stay with her. Someone needs to tell her it will be okay." "You can barely walk," one of A's soldiers said. "You need immediate medical treatment." "Then treat me on the way," Danny said. "But I am not leaving this cub alone." I understood. He had seen human customs before. They protected children fiercely, even children that were not their own. This human had bonded with these cubs over hours of fear and fire. He would not abandon them now. "We take them all together," I said. He nodded to his soldiers. "Wrap the cubs in heat blankets. Support. We move quickly but carefully." The soldiers moved with practiced efficiency. They wrapped each cub in specialized blankets that would protect them from the heat outside the small protected area. Danny tried to stand on his own, but his legs gave out. 2 soldiers caught him before he fell. "Sorry," Danny gasped. "Stood in one position too long, legs went numb." "Do not apologize," I said. "You stood in that position to shield them. There is no shame in that." They began the journey back through the burning building. I led the way, checking each step for stability. One soldier carried and together. Another carried Missa, who cried for Danny the entire time. The 3rd soldier supported Danny, practically carrying him through the worst sections. A support beam collapsed 10 feet behind them. Flames shot through a wall to their left. The building was dying around them. I forced himself to move faster without being reckless. These cubs had survived impossible odds. This human had kept them alive through willpower and courage. I would not let them die now. "Almost there," he called back. 30 more feet to the exit." Danny was coughing badly now. Each cough sounded like it tore something inside him, but he kept talking to the cubs. "You are doing great, little ones, so brave. Your parents will be so proud." Missa cried out, "Want Danny, want Danny." "I am right here, Missa," Danny said. His voice was barely above a whisper. "Not going anywhere, promise." They stumbled out of the building into relatively clean air. Medical teams rushed forward immediately. Someone took and from the soldiers' arms. Their parents were there, crying and reaching for their children. The reunion was loud and joyful. But when a medic tried to take Missa, she screamed. Her small claws dug into the heat blanket. "No, want Danny." Danny, barely conscious, reached out. "Let me," he said, "just for a minute." The medics looked at her. He nodded. They brought Missa to Danny. He sat on the ground because he could not stand. The small cub climbed into his lap and buried her face against his chest. Her crying quieted. "You are safe now," Danny said. He stroked her head like he had done in the fire. "Everything will be okay, I promise." A medic knelt beside them. "Sir, we need to treat your injuries. They are severe." "Just a minute more," Danny said. "Please." I watched this human hold an orphaned cub and make promises he might not live to keep. The hollow cold in his chest was still there, was still dead. But looking at Danny and Missa, he felt something else too, something small but growing. Purpose, maybe even hope. The medic looked at Danny's vital signs and his expression went grim. "Commander, we need to move him now. His lung function is failing. He has maybe 10 minutes before." "Then use those 10 minutes to bring the medical equipment here," I said. "He stays with the cub until she is calm." The medic opened his mouth to argue, saw A's expression, and nodded. He ran toward the medical transport. Other medics brought equipment. They set up an emergency treatment station right there on the ground while Danny held Missa and sang that broken lullaby one more time. I knelt beside them. "Danny," he said formally, "you ran into a burning building. You stayed with our cubs for 3 hours. You kept them alive and calm when anyone else would have fled. Do you understand what this means to my people?" Danny looked at him with eyes that were starting to lose focus. "I could not leave them," he said simply. "They were scared. They were children. What else could I do?" What else could he do? As if there was no choice. As if protecting children was as natural as breathing. A thought of again. She would have said the same thing. She would have done the same thing. "Among my people," I said slowly, "when someone protects the pack's young at risk to themselves, they earn a debt that cannot be repaid, only honored." He placed his hand over his heart in the traditional gesture. "You have protected my pack's cubs, Danny. I swear by my mate's memory that this debt will be honored." Danny's eyes closed. "Just wanted to help," he whispered. "Just wanted them to be okay." Then he slumped forward. Missa cried out as medics caught him. They laid him carefully on a stretcher. Equipment beeped and whirred around him. Numbers on screens flashed warnings. The medics worked with desperate speed. I watched them work and made a decision. His mate was dead. That grief would live in him forever. But this human, this Danny who sang lullabies and followed child safety protocols while dying, would not die too, or would not allow it. "Get him to the medical ship," I ordered. "Bring human medical specialists. Use every resource we have. I do not care about the cost." Commander said quietly, "The human medical specialists are 3 days away. He might not survive that long." I looked at little Missa. The cub was crying again, reaching toward Danny's unconscious form. Then he looked at and who stood with their parents but watched Danny being loaded onto the stretcher. Danny woke up to the sound of children crying. His eyes opened slowly. White ceiling, soft bed, medical equipment beeping steadily. His chest hurt, everything hurt, but he was alive and that seemed surprising. "Uncle Danny awake," a small voice shouted. Before he could process that, something small and warm landed on his bed. Little Missa climbed up beside him and pressed her furry face against his arm. "You came back," she said. "You promised." Danny's throat was too damaged to speak properly yet. A breathing tube had only been removed that morning, but he managed a rough whisper. "Told you, not going anywhere." A medic rushed over. "Careful, little one, he is still healing." But Missa would not move. She curled up against Danny's side like she belonged there. Through the door, Danny could see 2 more small faces peeking in, and they looked scared but hopeful. "You can come in," Danny whispered. "It is okay." They ran to his bedside, took his hand carefully, mindful of the bandages, just stared at him with big eyes full of relief. All 3 cubs had been cleaned up. They wore fresh clothes. They looked healthy, alive. "How long?" Danny asked the medic. 2 weeks, the medic said. "You have been unconscious for most of it. Your injuries were severe. The human medical specialists arrived 4 days ago and worked closely with our team." He paused. "You are very lucky to be alive." 2 weeks, Danny remembered the fire. He remembered the fear in the cub's eyes. He remembered Commander coming through the flames. Everything after that was blurry. "Their parents?" Danny asked. "And's parents are here on the medical ship," the medic said. "They visit every day, both to check on their cubs and to thank you." His voice became quieter. "Mrs. Parents died in the attack. She has been placed with an aunt temporarily, but the aunt lives far away and cannot come yet." Danny looked down at Missa. The small cub had fallen asleep against his arm, her breathing soft and steady. She was 4 years old and orphaned. The thought made his chest hurt worse than the injuries. The door opened again. Commander walked in. He looked different than Danny remembered. Cleaner, for one thing, not covered in ash and soot. But there was something else, too. His eyes were less empty. He still carried grief like a heavy weight, but there was something else there now. "You are awake," said. It was not a question. "Apparently," Danny whispered. "Thank you for the rescue and for keeping me alive." Looked at the 3 cubs gathered around Danny's bed. "You kept them alive first. I simply returned the favor." He moved closer. "How much do you remember?" "Most of it," Danny said. "The attack, the fire, staying with the cubs, you coming for us." He paused. "I remember you mentioned your mate. I am sorry for your loss." A's expression tightened briefly. "Would have liked what you did. She dedicated her life to building bridges between species, to protecting the innocent." He looked at the sleeping Missa. "She taught you well." "She was kind," Danny said. "She saw I was new to the settlement and alone. She invited me to help at the nursery sometimes. Said it was good for the cubs to meet humans in safe, happy contexts." His damaged throat made talking difficult, but he continued. "She taught me songs, games, protocols for safety. I never thought I would need them like this." Sat in a chair beside the bed. "She taught many people. She believed knowledge and kindness could stop wars before they started." His voice was heavy with grief. "She was wrong about that, but she was right about building connections. You proved that." Tugged on A's sleeve. "Uncle Danny sang Mama's songs, made us feel safe." "Uncle Danny?" A's ears twitched with interest. "That is what they call me," Danny said. He smiled slightly despite the pain. "Started the second day I was conscious. I could not correct them, still cannot." The medic cleared his throat. "The cubs have been here every day. Their parents bring and Mrs. Temporary Guardian brings her. They will not rest properly unless they see you are alive." Looked at Danny with an expression that was hard to read. "Among my people, bonds form through shared trauma and protection. These cubs have bonded to you. It is not common with other species, but it is not unheard of. They see you as pack now." Pack, Danny understood vaguely what that meant for family, connection, loyalty. He looked at the 3 small faces around his bed and felt something warm in his chest. He had come to Prime alone. He had been an engineer with no family nearby, just doing a job. Now he had 3 children who called him uncle and refused to sleep unless they knew he was okay. "I have a sister on Earth," Danny said quietly. "We talk sometimes, but I have been alone here, no real connections beyond work." He stroked Mrs. Head gently. "These past 2 weeks, even unconscious, I was not alone." "No," said. "You were not alone. The cubs came. Their parents came. My soldiers came to check on you. You became important to many people, Danny." Over the following days, Danny learned just how true that was. And's parents visited and thanked him with tears in their eyes. They brought him gifts, food from their home region, a blanket woven with traditional patterns, offers of anything he needed. Mrs. Temporary Guardian, an elderly named aunt, came from across the system. She was Mrs. only living relative. She held Danny's hand and thanked him for saving her niece. Then she cried because she lived too far away to take Missa immediately. It would be months before she could arrange to move closer. "What happens to Missa until then?" Danny asked during one of his daily visits. "She will go to a foster home," said. "We have families who take in orphaned cubs temporarily. She will be cared for." "By strangers," Danny said. "She is 4 years old. She just lost her parents. Now she goes to strangers." Looked at him steadily. "What would you have us do?" Danny did not have an answer. He was human. He knew nothing about raising cubs. He had a job to return to eventually. A life. But when Missa climbed onto his bed each day and fell asleep against his chest, he could not imagine sending her away to strangers. 3 weeks after waking up, Danny could walk again. His lungs were healing. The burns would scar but would not kill him. The medics said he could leave the medical ship soon, return to human space for continued treatment, resume his life. I found him in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. "You are healing well," I said. "The medics are good," Danny agreed. "Human and working together, they saved my life." "You should be proud. You helped create that cooperation. Before this, some medics would not have tried so hard to save a human." Danny looked at him, and now they see what I see, I said. That courage and compassion are not limited by species, that a human can love our cubs as fiercely as any. That was right about building bridges. They stood in silence for a moment, then a spoke again. I have a proposal for you, Danny. It is unusual, perhaps even improper, but I must ask. What is it? Danny said. Join my household as guardiankin to the 3 cubs you saved, I said. It is an honored position in our culture. You would live among the help raise the cubs, be part of my pack. Danny stared at him. I am human. I do not know your customs well. I would make mistakes. You would learn, I said. You already know the important things, how to comfort a scared child, how to put their safety above your own, how to keep promises even when it costs you everything. I have a sister on Earth, Danny said. A career, a life. I know, I said. I am not asking you to decide now, but think about it. Those cubs need you, especially Missa, and perhaps you need them too. Danny thought about it for days. He called his sister using the quantum comm system. Her face appeared on the screen, concerned and loving. You almost died, she said. Again. I saved children, Danny said. 3 of them. His sister smiled. Of course you did. You cannot help yourself. You see someone who needs help and you just jump in. She paused. What are you going to do now? I got offered something, Danny said. To stay with the help raise the cubs I saved. It is called guardiankin. It means giving up my life here, my job, everything. His sister was quiet for a moment. Then she said, do you want to do it? I think so, Danny admitted. When I think about leaving, about never seeing those cubs again, it feels wrong. But it is crazy, right? Changing my whole life for children who are not even my species. Danny, his sister said gently, you ran into a burning building for them. You almost died for them. I think you already changed your life for them. The question is whether you want to keep going in that direction. She was right. Danny knew she was right. He found in the commander's quarters. I will do it, Danny said. I will be guardiankin, but I have a condition. Name it, I said. I want to help establish better safety protocols for mixed species settlements, better evacuation plans, better protection for children. What happened at Prime cannot happen again. A's expression shifted to something like approval. Would have made the same condition. You think like her, protecting the present while building a better future. 3 months passed like water through Danny's fingers. He learned customs. He studied their language properly, not just the broken phrases had taught him. He moved into quarters in A's household with space for himself and the 3 cubs who shadowed his every step. Missa had moved in immediately after the bonding ceremony and visited so often that their parents finally arranged for them to stay several nights per week. Danny's days became a blur of children's laughter, language lessons, and learning to cook food that did not taste like burnt rubber. He was happy, genuinely happy in a way he had not been in years, but the galaxy did not care about happiness. Danny was helping Missa with her reading lessons when I entered the common room. The commander's expression was dark. Behind him walked a female in intelligence officer uniform. Her name was Kella. Danny had met her twice before. She never brought good news. Cubs, I said gently, go to your room for a moment. Adults need to talk. Started to protest, but something in A's tone stopped her. She gathered and Missa and led them away. Danny stood up slowly. His heart was already racing. What happened? He asked. Kella stepped forward. We have intercepted communications. They are planning another attack. The target is the sanctuary colonies. She pulled up a holographic map. 3 small planets lit up in red. These colonies house over 10,000 civilians, mostly families who evacuated from border worlds after Prime. Danny felt his stomach drop. How long do we have? 48 hours, Kella said. The defense fleet is 5 days away. The colonies have minimal military presence. They were supposed to be safe this far from the border. Nothing is safe anymore, I said bitterly. They are pushing deeper into our territory, testing our defenses, looking for weak points. Danny's mind was already working. Engineering training kicked in. 48 hours, 10,000 civilians. What are the evacuation options? Limited, Kella said. We can evacuate maybe 6,000 if we start immediately. The rest cannot be moved in time. Too many are elderly or very young. Transportation is not sufficient. Then we do not evacuate everyone, Danny said. Both looked at him. We evacuate those who can travel easily. Everyone else we shelter in place. We hide them, use terrain, use technology, make the colonies look abandoned. A's ears perked forward. Explain. Danny moved to the holographic map. I survived that fire because I found a stable pocket and used available resources. We do the same thing on a larger scale. We identify the most defensible locations in each colony. We move civilians there. We use human stealth technology to hide their signatures. We make them think the colonies are empty. Human stealth technology, Kella said slowly. You mean the adaptive camouflage systems Earth developed for covert operations? Yes, Danny said. I know the systems. I helped install them on border stations before Prime. If we move fast, we can retrofit shelter locations to hide heat signatures, energy readings, everything the scan for. I looked at Kella. Is this possible? Theoretically, she said, but we would need human cooperation, technology transfer, training. I can provide all of that, Danny said. I am human. I am also guardian kin to a pack. I can bridge the gap, get authorization from both sides. He paused. But we need to move now. 48 hours is not much time. I studied him for a long moment, then he nodded. Do it. I will authorize any resources you need. Kella, work with Danny, get him whatever he requires. There is more, Danny said. We need a decoy. Even if we hide the civilians well, they will investigate if they suspect anything. We need to draw their attention elsewhere. What kind of decoy? I asked. A visible target, Danny said. Something that looks important, something they will focus on instead of searching carefully for hidden civilians. Understanding dawned in A's eyes. You want to make yourself the target. Not just me, Danny said. A small team, we create false life signs, broadcast fake communications, make it look like military personnel are still in the colonies. They will focus their attack on us. That is a suicide mission, Kella said flatly. Not if we are smart about it, Danny said. We use guerrilla tactics, hit and run, stay mobile. We just need to keep them busy until the defense fleet arrives. A's expression was grim. You are asking to put yourself in danger again. You nearly died at Prime. And 10,000 people will die if we do nothing, Danny said. He thought of Missa and the other cubs in the colonies. I did not become guardiankin just to watch more children burn. I can help. I need to help. A look torn. Finally, he said, we bring this to the council. Let them decide. But know this, Danny, if you volunteer for this mission, I volunteer with you. You are my pack now. I do not send pack into danger alone. The council meeting was tense. Leaders argued about the plan. Some wanted to focus all resources on evacuation. Others wanted to engage the in-space battle. Danny's proposal was risky and untested. But it was also their best chance to save the most lives. In the end, the council agreed. Danny would lead a joint human task force to the sanctuary colonies. They would evacuate who they could, shelter the rest, and create a decoy force to distract the... The next 36 hours were chaos. Danny barely slept. He coordinated with human engineers to deliver stealth technology. He trained mixed teams in rapid shelter construction and camouflage installation. He worked with soldiers to plan defensive positions and escape routes. I worked beside him every step. The commander's grief over had not disappeared, but purpose had given him focus. Together, they built something new. A team that combined human technology with courage. A bridge between species built on trust and shared goals. The night before they left for the colonies, Danny checked on the cubs. They were asleep in their room, curled together like puppies. Missa clutched a stuffed toy he had given her. His arm was draped overprotectively. They do not know what you are about to do, I said from the doorway. Better that way, Danny said quietly. They are children. Let them be children as long as possible. If something happens to you... It will not, Danny said firmly. I promised Missa I was not going anywhere. I keep my promises. I stepped into the room. Used to say that, I keep my promises. She promised me a life together. She could not keep that promise. Death does not care about promises, Danny. Maybe not, Danny said. But we care. We fight anyway. We make promises anyway, because that is what hope looks like. Making promises even when the universe gives us no guarantees. I looked at him with an expression Danny was learning to recognize. Respect mixed with grief mixed with something that might be affection. My mate chose well when she taught you. You understand the important things. They left at dawn. 3 transport ships full of engineers, soldiers, and equipment. Danny watched the stars pass by and thought about. He had never met her while she was alive. But he knew her through the songs she taught him, the protocols she drilled into him, the kindness she showed him. He would honor her memory by saving her people. The sanctuary colonies were beautiful, green planets with gentle weather, perfect for raising families far from war. Danny hated that war had followed them here anyway. His team worked with desperate speed. They identified natural caves and reinforced bunkers. They installed stealth equipment. They moved thousands of civilians into hiding. Elderly helped comfort frightened cubs. Families worked together to pack emergency supplies. Danny moved between locations, troubleshooting problems, answering questions, offering encouragement. He saw Mrs. Face in every cub, kindness in every parent protecting their child. With 6 hours remaining before the arrival, they moved the last civilians into hiding. The evacuation ships left carrying 6,000 people. 4,000 remained, hidden in shelters that registered as empty rock on most scans. Danny stood in the command center of what had been the main colony building. His decoy team of 20 volunteers prepared equipment, checked weapons and tactical displays. "This could work," Kella said. She was staying behind too, volunteering despite having 2 cubs of her own safely evacuated. "If we are lucky." "Luck is just preparation meeting opportunity," Danny said. "We prepared, now we make our own luck." I looked at him. "You are not what I expected when first reported seeing a human in that fire." "What did you expect?" Danny asked. "Someone waiting to be rescued," I said. "Not someone who would keep rescuing others." He paused. "Would have loved you not as a mate, but as a friend, as someone who understood what she was trying to build." "I hope I am making her proud," Danny said quietly. "You are," I said, "and you are making me glad to be alive again. That is a gift I did not think possible." The ships dropped out of hyperspace right on schedule. 20 warships against a handful of volunteers and hidden the first orbital strike hit 3 miles from the command center. The ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Danny watched the tactical display and felt his heart race. 20 warships against his team of volunteers. The math was not good. "Broadcast now," he told his communications officer, a young named Petro. "Make it look like we are trying to hide but failing." Petro sent out scrambled messages that were just clear enough to decode. Fake troop movements, false supply requests, communications that suggested a military force trying to hold the colonies. They would intercept them. They would think they had found a real target. Another strike closer this time. The building groaned. Danny checked his evacuation routes for the 3rd time. They had planned 7 different ways out of the command center. They would need all of them. "They are taking the bait," Kella reported. 3 ships breaking formation to investigate our position. The rest are beginning surface scans." Danny watched the scan patterns on his display. They were thorough but predictable. They scanned for heat signatures, energy readings, and movement. All things Danny's stealth technology was designed to hide. The civilian shelters showed up as empty rock formations, exactly as planned. But the command center showed up clearly, exactly as planned. "Incoming fire," someone shouted. Danny dove behind a reinforced barrier as the ceiling exploded. Debris rained down. His ears rang from the blast. When he looked up, he saw a hole where the north wall used to be. Through it, he could see a drop ship descending. "They are landing troops," I said calmly, too calmly. The commander had his weapon ready and his eyes sharp. "Petro, send the retreat signal. Danny, get your team to evacuation route 3. "What about you?" Danny asked. "I will slow them down," I said. "Buy you time to fall back." "We go together or not at all," Danny said. He grabbed A's arm. "That was the deal. Pack does not abandon pack." I looked at him for a moment, then he nodded. "Together then, Route 3, move now." They ran through smoke and falling debris. The building was coming apart around them. Danny could hear soldiers entering behind them. Heavy footsteps, weapons charging, voices calling to each other in their harsh language. Route 3 led through the old maintenance tunnels beneath the colony. Danny had memorized every turn. Behind him, his team followed in practiced order. Kella brought up the rear, laying small charges to collapse the tunnel behind them. They emerged 2 miles from the command center in a dense forest. The trees provided cover from aerial scans. Danny checked his team. 21 people had started this mission. 21 people ran into the forest, no losses yet. "Status report," Danny said, catching his breath. "Have occupied the command center," Petro reported. "They are searching it now. 3 more drop ships landing at other colony locations. They are committed to the ground assault." "Good," Danny said. That means they are not scanning carefully. The civilians stay hidden as long as the focus on us. The defense fleet is still 4 days out, Kella said. We cannot run for 4 days. Then we do not run, Danny said. We fight, hit and run tactics, make them chase us, keep them angry and distracted. Over the next 6 hours, Danny's team became ghosts. They struck from the forest, taking out isolated patrols. They sabotaged equipment. They broadcast false positions that led forces into traps and ambushes. They made 21 people feel like 200. They grew frustrated. They began orbital bombardment of suspected hiding spots. The forest burned. The beautiful colonies became a war zone. But every bomb that fell on empty forest was a bomb not falling on the 4,000 civilians hidden underground. Danny led his team through fire and smoke, just like he had in the nursery at Prime. The heat was familiar now. The fear was familiar. But this time he was not alone. A fought beside him. Kella and Petro and 19 others who believed in what they were doing. They believed they could save people. They believed courage mattered. They believed one human and his pack could make a difference. On the second day, they lost their first team member. A soldier named took a blast meant for Petro. He died instantly. They had no time to mourn. They carried his body to a safe cache and kept moving. On the third day, Danny took shrapnel in his leg. Kella bandaged it while Petro held off pursuing. The pain was intense, but Danny forced himself to keep walking. They could not slow down, could not rest. "You are bleeding badly," I said during a brief stop. "I have been worse," Danny said. "Remember the fire." "I remember thinking you would die," I said. "I remember being wrong. Do not make me wrong again." Danny smiled despite the pain. "I promised Missa I keep my promises." The fourth day brought both hope and desperation. The defense fleet sent word they were 12 hours out. But Danny's team was down to 16 people. They were exhausted, wounded, and running low on ammunition. They knew they were close to catching them. Danny made a decision. "We split up," he said. "Small groups, multiple directions, make them divide their forces one more time." "That is too dangerous," I said. "If we get separated." "We already are separated," Danny said. "From the 4,000 people counting on us, from the cubs in those shelters who deserve to live. This is the only way to buy enough time." They divided into 4 groups. Danny took 3 volunteers. I took 4. Kella and Petro led the remaining groups. They scattered into different sections of the burning forest. Danny's group led a battalion on a chase through hell. They used every trick he knew, every tactic he had learned. They made 4 people seem like 40, but they were closing in. He was setting up another ambush when he heard it. A sound that made his blood run cold. A child crying. Impossible. All the cubs were in the shelters, all the civilians were hidden. But the sound continued, a young voice calling for help. Danny's tactical mind screamed at him to ignore it. It could be a trap. It could be bait. They could not afford to investigate. But his heart, the same heart that ran into a burning building, could not walk away from a crying child. "Cover me," he told his team. Then he ran toward the sound. He found her in a collapsed shelter entrance. A cub, maybe 6 years old. She must have wandered from the main shelter and gotten lost. The forest fire had trapped her. She was crying for her parents. Danny did not hesitate. He pulled debris away from the entrance. The cub looked at him with terrified eyes. He held out his hand. "It is okay," he said "I am here to help. My name is Danny." The cub took his hand. He pulled her free just as soldiers spotted them. Weapons fire exploded around them. Danny's team returned fire. He ran with the cub in his arms, his wounded legs screaming in protest. They made it to cover, barely. Danny set the cub down and checked her for injuries, just scratches and smoke inhalation. She would live. "Danny is an idiot," one of his team members said, but he was smiling. "A brave idiot, but still an idiot." "Had to," Danny gasped. "Could not leave her." The cub grabbed his hand. "You came," she said. "Mama said someone would come." "Your mama was right," Danny said, "and we are going to get you back to her." But they had them pinned down. No clear escape route, limited ammunition. Danny checked his tactical display. The defense fleet was still 8 hours out. They just had to survive 8 more hours. Then he heard it, the sound of battle cries, emerged from the smoke with his group, hitting them from behind. The surprise attack broke the enemy formation. Danny's group used the chaos to escape. They regrouped in a cave system Danny had scouted earlier. 16 people and one rescued cub. They were battered and bleeding but alive. You went after her, said. It was not a question. I had to, Danny said. You know I did. Looked at the small cub who had fallen asleep against Danny's chest. Would have done the same thing, run into danger for one child even when thousands were counting on her. He paused. I hated that about her. I hated how much she cared, how she could not walk away from anyone who needed help. And now, Danny asked. Now I understand, said. That caring is not weakness. That running toward danger for the right reasons is not foolish. It is what makes life worth living. He placed his hand over his heart in the traditional gesture. You taught me that, Danny, you and both. The defense fleet arrived like the answer to a prayer. Warships dropped out of hyperspace and engaged The battle was fierce but short. They had been hunting ground forces for days. They were not prepared for a fresh military assault. Within 3 hours, they retreated. Within 6 hours, the all-clear signal sounded. The civilians emerged from their shelters. 4,000 people walked into the sunlight. Not a single shelter had been discovered. Danny sat against a tree and watched families reunite. Parents found children. Siblings embraced. The cub he rescued ran to her mother and father, who cried and thanked him over and over. Lowered himself to the ground beside Danny. Both of them were too exhausted to stand. We lost 4, said quietly. 4 out of 21, but we saved 4,000. 4 is still too many, Danny said. Yes, agreed. But and the others would say it was worth it. They believed in what we were doing. They sat in silence as medics moved through the area. Danny's leg needed proper treatment. Had burns and a deep cut across his shoulder. But they were alive. The cubs will be worried, said eventually. I promised Misser I would come back, Danny said. Then we should go keep that promise, said. 6 months later, Danny stood at a memorial built on Prime, names carved in stone. His name was there among many others. Beside Danny stood and 3 cubs who were now permanently his family. And his parents had agreed to joint custody. The cubs spent half their time with Danny and a half with their birth parents. Missa lived with them full-time, with regular visits to Aunt. The Human Protection Alliance had become official policy. Mixed teams now trained throughout both territories. The protocols Danny helped develop had saved countless lives in subsequent attacks. Danny placed flowers at its memorial, real flowers from Earth, shipped across space because he thought she would like them. She had loved building bridges between worlds. Now those bridges were stronger than ever. Thank you, Danny whispered to the stone. For the songs, for the protocols, for teaching me that protecting children matters more than anything, for loving a mate who learned to live again. Missa tugged his hand. Uncle Danny, can we go home now? Home, Danny looked at the 3 cubs, at the memorial to a woman he never met but who changed his life anyway. Home was not Earth anymore. Home was this strange family built from grief and fire and impossible choices. Yes, he said, let us go home. They walked away from the memorial together. 3 small cubs ran ahead, playing and laughing. Walked beside Danny in comfortable silence. Above them, stars shone in the alien sky. Stars that watched over humans and in all the species learning to protect each other. Danny had lost his old life, but he had found something better, purpose, family, a reason to keep making promises even when the universe offered no guarantees. He thought would approve. He hoped A's mate was somewhere watching them, proud of the pack her kindness had helped create. A pack built on courage and compassion, a pack that proved love could survive even fire and war and grief. A pack that would keep protecting the innocent, one child at a time, for as long as they had breath in their bodies. That was the promise, and Danny always kept his promises. Danny took a deep breath and opened a communication channel. Here we go, he said. Time to make some noise. Is that a yes? Danny asked. That is a yes, said. We will make it official. There will be a ceremony. You will be bonded to my household and to the 3 cubs. It is permanent, Danny. Once done, you are pack. There is no going back. Danny thought of Mrs. Small face, of Aunt's laughter, of having purpose again after months of just existing. I understand, he said. When do we start? These cubs were alive because of one human's courage. Was dead, but her legacy lived in what she had taught Danny, in the songs and protocols and gentle way of caring for young ones. That legacy deserved to be honored. Then we keep him alive for 3 days, said. Whatever it takes.